for all those people that missed last week's Q&A and wrote in, I'm glad that we decided to do this. So we're calling this Quick Answers because the people that could write in and give us some questions, we're going to try to give them some quick answers because they couldn't join us in the live Q&A.
Perfect. Yeah, I have all those questions. So I kind of broke them down into category. And so today we're going to talk about reins. So my first question here is my reins are pretty long. What should I do? And how long should they be?
Well, I'm assuming maybe she has split reins. I don't know. Reins that are um, buckled at the end, that's great. If for some reason you have long leather reins and they have a buckle, we're allowed to have all different kinds of reins. So they might have a rein that looks more like an English rein. And you can always take your rein to a saddle maker and have it shortened and the buckle redone. So you can always do that. But split reins that are really long, once you get them through your hands, so they're through your hands and they hang down, the end should never be past your horse's elbow, not ever. It doesn't want to get down to your toe. Also, for me, and this is kind of one of those things, but people are really kind of funny in the Western divisions about actually knotting their leather reins together because they're like, oh, that's a beginner trick. Well, I don't bridge my reins. I do have both of the ends of the reins on the right hand side, which is traditional to keep things that dangle on the right and keep them away from your rope and other things. So you can put a little knot in them. Doesn't bother me any. Quite frankly, I want to jump down and throw that over the horn so my horse is standing there, and self-standing. So it's sort of like ground time, but I don't put the reins down. And so you just want to figure out if you're having a knot or whatever, how long it's going to be, and that the end isn't past their elbow, so it's not flying around and distracting the judges and getting caught on your boot.
No, absolutely. I think it's good to know that you can put a knot in those reins because I know one of the biggest things I worry about sometimes is one, I get nervous in the show ring, and two, like losing a rein. Like, what if I just drop it and, that's it? If I drop a split rein, it's down and then it's a whole thing. But if it was knotted, it's not really going to fall to the ground the same. I can recover.
Yes, you can. And because there's no timeouts allowed in Western dressage, if you couldn't keep moving and lean down and grab that, you might have to halt. You absolutely can't get down in Western dressage. So that whole thing is a huge markdown if you
Yeah,
dropped your rein and came to a halt to get it or whatever.
I would
So
be
yeah, don't want
mortified.
to do that.
I
It's
would be
not good.
absolutely mortified. So that brings me into the next question we have. So this question is, I have always bridged my reins, but I see your videos that you don't. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, yeah, and I just mentioned that.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of Western divisions do bridge their reins, and they say to me, "Well, I don't want to drop a rein in this and that." And I'm like, "Well, when you bridge your reins, the part of the rein that's between, that's what the bridge is. So that's why it's called bridging. That one rein goes this way and one goes that way, and you get your hands around them. But when that happens, when you are trying to use each hand independently on a snaffle, all of a sudden that bridging prevents you from moving your hands enough independently for a lot of the lateral work that we're doing in Western dressage children and half pass. And we do have different hand positions. Your inside hand is not doing what your outside hand is all the time, particularly if you should be not on a curve bit, but particularly on snaffles. And so that bridging, where it might be great for an introductory rider or somebody who really doesn't want to, they don't want to move their hands around much, and their instructor's saying to them, I'm going to have you bridge your reins so maybe your hands don't bounce or they don't get too far apart or something like that. Okay, I see that. Bridging is not illegal. But the further up you get in dressage, Western dressage, you're going to see that it affects your hand position and your reins don't work as independently because of that bridging. And I don't have a student doing it. And I personally don't recommend it because you cannot triangulate your forearms correctly and get the right elasticity and contact or correct arm position that we're looking for. So I personally don't recommend it.
Okay. And the last question I have about reins is my trainer recommended round rope reins. I'm having trouble with my arthritis closing my hands. What should I
Wow.
do?
That's a good question. We have a lot of people coming in from Western divisions, and they're really used to interesting like horsehair reins and round reins. And there again, you're hoping to get your hands absolutely closed and your hand to be a nice closed fist with your fingers closed. And anything that's round and big like that, and I have size 9 hands, so I have really long fingers. I can't get them around rope reins.
Mhm.
I do start horses when I start them under saddle that I have a halter and a rope rein, and then I have their bridle and their snaffle on, and I have 4 reins going on, and I'm relying on the rope. So it's not that I don't use this, but to ride in my tests on a broke horse, it's very, very difficult to close your hands. And this lady's saying, wow, I have arthritis. I'd be ditching them in a minute
Yeah.
because I'm thinking, oh, that must be so painful.
Yeah.
So you really need to find reins that are the right size for your hands that you can get way up in the bridging of your fingers and you can get your hands closed and triangulate your forearms for elasticity. And there's a lot to be said for nice leather reins.
Mhm.
They have a good feel, and you want the leather to attach to the bit. You don't want a metal snap on because when leather attaches to the bit, you have a feel with the bit. But when you have a snap there and the leather goes to the snap and the snap goes to the bit, that's a disconnect between you and your horse. And when you slack that, that thing goes like this and the horse has no feel. It's like you completely dropped him. And
Mhm.
when you go to take it up, it also makes it goes like that. It jerks when it takes up connection. It's not a smooth retake like you can do when it's leather attached to the bit. So that's why you'll see a lot of real purists that are very interested in their horse's balance and connection and harmony in the mouth that you won't see any quick snap rein attachment. They're not illegal.
Okay.
Well, they are in regular dressage, and that's why. But Western, they're not illegal. But when you look at the really, really people out there that are really going at it, you don't see those.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That answers all of those questions because I know reins can be tricky in Western dressage, and I know that went through this myself, just trying to get comfortable with Western dressage. And I had the typical split reins, and then I had fear of losing one. So I did go to rope reins because it's connected, but I wasn't in love with the connection of the metal snap, which I had those kind. And I ended up going to just a basic pair of English reins.
Yeah,
Um, and
and they're
those have worked
loud.
out really well for me. And I like the fact that they have those little pieces that I don't even know what you call them, but the leather pieces down the long side almost to measure them so that I know that
Stops.
my reins are even.
Yes, little stops. They make a
Yeah.
grip on the rein in case it
Mhm.
gets slippery or sweaty. And those are amazing.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, everybody, for really great questions on reins. And we'll
Yeah.
talk to you again soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Ida.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Bye.